Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over LTCN, BCHG, HSEN, and ETCG, but also Mana and Zcash and GXLM are really popping off big time. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so we'll get into the charts, but towards the end of this video, we're also going to go into AMC and what to expect from the spot Ether ETFs and how potentially we could be moving into a seriously bullish altcoin season here soon. Okay. So, first things first, go over the portfolio here. As you guys can see, we are more green on the day on the trust that we currently have. So, we don't really have a lot right now, but there's a couple of reasons for that. I'll get into that later. But as you guys can see, we're up pretty substantially on Mana, so 37% right now, roughly about $750. We could have bought more when it was lower, but again, we have our hand in many different jars right now, and with the limited amount of capital that we have, there's only so much we can do. Plus, we also have to prepare for potential Fed rate cuts, which ultimately leads to some kind of pullback in the markets. That's what history supports. So, anyways, up 37% all time on Mana, still down all time on HSEN and ETCG, although by a little bit, up 14% on the day on Mana. So, big move on Mana, 3.6% on HSEN, and a relatively modest 1% on ETCG. But again, something is still better than nothing. So, excuse me. So let's get into the content here. So LTCN is still looking very bullish. Still have a break of the trend line as of last week. That's our breakout candle. With the bounce off the EMAs and support, we got to close above the EMAs. That's all very bullish. One thing I do want to point out here is that we did actually have a confirmation of a death cross on the MACD on the weekly time frame. And the histogram has turned a little bit red. So, does it mean there's going to be a sell-off? Well, I can tell you guys last time that the price of LTCM pulled back. There was no red on the histogram. This time we do actually have some red, so there may be a little bit more of a deeper pullback to come. We'll just have to wait and see. As you guys can see, it kind of turned from a light green here to a kind of a bit darker red. There was a pretty sizable pullback here from basically about a 60% drop from the top to the bottom. But no guarantees. I mean, it's impossible to predict these things. So as of right now, I would say even with the MACD death cross, it still looks very bullish in my opinion. The daily is kind of a predicator of what's to come. So this pretty much would be front running the move on whatever we see here is pretty much what we'll likely see on the weekly. So this is front running the move on the weekly. So for LTCN on the daily, have not had. So it looked like we were going to have a triple golden cross here. Kind of got faked out a little bit. So still kind of sitting around the EMAs. No definitive move yet. It seems that the price is a little uncertain on LTCN at this point. That's fine. Excuse me. I would say, in my opinion, as long as we do not get below this trend line and this support zone, we're still good to go as far as the bullish sentiment is concerned. Again, it would not be uncommon for the price to come back and retest this trend line, which again can happen before a massive takeoff to the upside. That's one of the reasons why we suggested that this thing could go down, pull back into this trend line here, and then boom. I'm not sure why it's only pulling back to the EMAs, but I meant to have this pull back to the trend line. So it could have happened that way, but it didn't. At this point, likely what would happen is it would just pull back into the trend line and then basically take off to the upside. So show you guys how much of a pullback that would be. It'd be about another 23%. So that's really nothing in crypto. I mean, 23% is like, that's peanuts. I mean, people in the stock market trip about 23%, rightly so. But in crypto, if you've been here for a long time, you know that that's not really that big of a deal. But if Bitcoin pulls back 23%, that's a big deal. But altcoins, 23%, that's nothing. So still this support is going to be pretty much the buy zone here. So about 24 to 27 or 2670, I should say, but we'll just round it up and say 27. The first swing that you're looking for here is 55. And that's going to line up once again with this control bar. I'm sure you guys are probably getting tired of me saying this, but it does matter. This is we're talking about market structure here, and day traders have to learn market structure. If they don't, they get absolutely mopped by the markets and by institutions. It is an extremely important um, facet of trading and investing, if you're looking at charts, is understanding market structure. So once we get past this, which is a major bear zone, we'll probably head up to 75, which is kind of where all these long wicks are. I said 75 because that's kind of where we had these candle body closes here before this big rip, which in my opinion, this move right here, this little red candle, would be considered to be a swing low before moving higher. Generally, when price retraces to a swing low or a swing high, it either acts as at least temporary support and resistance. So that's the reason why I'm pointing that out. And then the zone up here at 100 to 135 bucks. So that's the immediate move that we'd be looking at here. So if I measure this from the current price to the swing high, we'd be looking at 87% from, let's say, the bottom of the zone. Well, actually, let's go down to the bottom of the trend line because I did say that was likely, about 145% move. Now, if I were to measure this, let's say from the bottom of the trend line to the $75 price point, we'd be looking at about 246%. And then from the bottom of the trend line, let's say all the way up to 135 bucks, which again, I do think LTCN easily could hit 135 bucks, 526% move. All right, so BCHG, this is another popular one. I'll get into the spot Ether ETFs and the implications on the Grayscale Trust here in a minute. I did want to talk about it now, but I don't really want to get sidetracked. So everything looks bullish still on BCHG. This red candle is not great. Potential tweezer top here, but there was no slam to the downside. Usually with a double tweezer top, there would be an immediate move down. We did not see that. So as far as I'm concerned, that still looks good for the bullish perspective. We just want to see another big green candle follow up and close above this red one on the weekly, which ideally would be next week. So we have our breakout candle here, and then we're above the EMAs, also above support. So that's all very bullish. We have not had a death cross on the MACD. That's also good. We had a break of the trend line, still holding above support. Everything looks good on that front. Basically, what I'm saying is this thing looks bullish, and it likely is going to move up instead of down. No guarantees, but that is, if I had to give a majority vote to the probability of what's going to happen, I would say these things are probably going to move up, not down. That's just my opinion. So break of the trend line on the daily. We do have a golden cross here on the MACD. It is still green. That's still very bullish. RSI looks kind of ugly, but if the price makes its move up, expect the RSIs to start moving up. Again, we are sitting right on the break-even level. This is usually when the bulls and the bears are fighting for dominance. So everything on the daily looks good. The price is actually still above the EMAs too, also, which is nice on the daily. That's a double bullish confirmation. So as of right now, pretty much the bottom of this trend line is going to be in my opinion, the bounce point, like the maximum drawdown to the bounce point. The trend line would be where it's at. Okay, so that lines up with the bottom of support and also the yellow EMA. So that's going to be right around $10. And then, of course, the top of the range, pretty much right where we're sitting as of right now, is about $12.80. Resistance, $17.90, $20 at the top, and then roughly about 23.5 all the way at that local swing high up there. So from the current price to the swing high, we'd be looking at 83%. From the bottom of the support range, which again would line up perfectly with that bounce point on the trend line, would be 136%. And that's just to show you guys what the previous all-time high was. So pretty much the previous all-time high was about $60, and you guys can kind of see the fib numbers here. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ethereum spot Ether ETFs just got approved. Altcoin season could be around the corner. A lot of these Grayscale trusts have very tiny market caps. Even LTCN and BCHG is like only 100 million. If these things did a 20x in price, let's say, so $13 to $260, we're already above the top fib level. And again, 20x the market cap of 100 million is still only 2 billion. In the native crypto space, that's not even going to get you in the top 100. So yes, I do think it's possible. All right, so HZen, this one actually looks, in my opinion, a little bit more bullish than BCHG. So Breakout candle here, confirmation candle here. This is kind of an ugly one, but it is still higher than the previous candle. So from that front, I would say it's still bullish. We do have wicks on both sides, which indicates indecision. There's a little bit more wick to the upside, which is more bearish, but again, this did close green, so as far as I'm concerned, it's still good. MACD death cross, but again, the histogram, you can see it's turning a light red color as of this week, so momentum could be shifting back to the upside in the immediate near future, in my opinion. So support still going to be between 370 to 420. Bottom of this trend line currently sits at about 460, so pretty much just right at the yellow EMA, which is ideally, if we were swing trading this and not using this red EMA, that's exactly where we would want to see it bounce. I don't think it's likely to come back down below the trend line. If it does, maybe a wick, and then it pumps straight back up. So resistance $7 to $8, and then the swing high up here $10.50. So from the current price to the swing high, 81%. From the trend line to the swing high, 129%. And if we get a wick down to the support zone, which is possible if you get lucky enough to be able to time that, good job. 181% move on that. And as you guys can see, HSN never really even got a chance to explore price discovery, which during this cycle, I think it will. So in my opinion, HSN probably going to go a lot higher than $30, but $30 was the previous all-time high. So it's still roughly about a 5x from the current price. So ETCG, this is very bullish. I would say likely we're probably going to push up to this resistance pretty fast because that is a fat candle with a lot of volume. That's always a good sign for the bulls. So as of right now, I would say probably anywhere between this trend line, so about $14 to $16 is going to be support. Resistance still $17.80 to about $20.40. If I want to go ahead and go above that, I would say the next level likely, and I'm going to go ahead and do this now because I do think with the spot Ether ETF news, there is a strong chance, very strong chance in my opinion, that we go much higher, much quicker than people expect, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put in the next zone here, which I think is going to be roughly about $40 to $51. We'll just say $52, somewhere in there. Because if it shoots past this resistance, which in my opinion it probably will, this thing's going to absolutely skyrocket. Again, ETCG is an oscillator to Ethereum, or to ETH, I should say, just like Ethereum Classic is an oscillator to Ethereum. So from current price to the zone high, 21%. From the current price, let's say, to the next higher zone, which is what we'd be looking at, 208%. So that's a much bigger gain, as you guys can see. Pull back to the trend line to the first resistance zone, 42%, and pull back to the trend line to the next higher resistance zone, about 257%. Now, ETCG's all-time high is $96. Do I think it's going to stop there, especially with the spot Ether ETF news? No. I'm absolutely expecting at this point that likely ETCG is going to go much higher than 96. How high? I don't know. Sky's the limit. I mean, it depends on how much retail and institutions buy up Ether and all these different trusts and ETFs and stuff. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. So ETH, MACD is curling up. Histogram is changing green. Got the golden cross on the RSI, this insanely massive fat green candle here. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Look at this thing. Let me just measure this candle real quick. This is insane. So this candle for 1 week is 51%. That's absolutely huge, okay? That is totally normal in a parabolic bull market. Expect to see that. And it will probably catch you off guard. You'll be like, what the hell is going on? Did I just see my position go up by 80% in a day? That can happen, okay? So we got a breakout of this cup and handle pattern. Okay, this is the cup. It's not really so obvious because it's kind of jagged. You want to see it more round, but it is still considered to be a cup. So cup and handle, we got the breakout. This is the confirmation of the breakout, the cup and handle. The target's all the way up here at $55 roughly. You can see the all-time high is a little bit higher than that, so about $70 or so. I don't think this thing stops at $70. I think it goes way higher. How high exactly it's going to go, I don't know. First two Fibonacci levels are here, so 75 and 116. I would say probably likely even higher than 116 in my opinion, especially with the spot Ether ETF news, but that's just my opinion. So as of right now, from where we are currently to the cup and handle target, about 56%. If we get a pullback into the top of this handle, which is always a possibility, and we get a swing up to the cup and handle target, that's about 124% move. Okay, so Phil G, this one, it's very hard to see, but it looks like maybe we got a little bit higher candle on this one. Yes, we did. So barely higher, but it is a little bit higher. So that's always a bullish sign. Not as green as I'd like it to see, but you can see that the MACD histogram is starting to shift in momentum. That's always bullish. So we got to break of the trend line. Big green candle here, volume candle, and then higher green candles. That's always good. We still got to get above the EMAs. But as of right now, it could pull back into this trend line. Sure, $30, roughly, maybe even as low as 25. It's risky. That's why we were looking to get in it at the zone, but we missed it. It didn't pull back all the way. So the high is going to be up here roughly around $400. If I just measure this from one end to the other, to the upside, it would be 217%. And from the current price, let's say, to where the trend line is, yeah, it's pretty ugly. It'd be about 80% drop. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. There's probably about an equal chance. I would say probably not, because the underlying token is pretty much sitting at all-time lows. So I would say there's a small likelihood this happens. But in the event that it happens, if you manage to get it on the pullback and take it to the swing high, 1,400% gain. So huge, massive move. All right, GBAT's still looking very bullish. We still have another bullish candle here. This is a hammer candle that's also extremely bullish. So got to break at the trend line, bounce off support, boom. Took off to the upside, closed above the EMAs, come back, retest the EMAs, form this hammer candle. That's very bullish. That tells me likely this thing is going to go higher still. The MACD is converging bullish, as you guys can see. And the last two times we had a big move up, we had 5 weeks of green. So the first time, second time, and now the third time. And as you guys can see, each time we broke out around the second candle, and again the second candle. So if history is to repeat, we should have one more week of green and then a pullback. If not, we'll go above. There's a stronger likelihood that we're going to go above this previous all-time high here and go into price discovery. That's a possibility. So from the current price to the all-time high, be looking at about 81%. If we get a pullback into the zone, let's just say the top of the zone to the all-time high, which is possible, about 229%. So GLIV, this one's also looking very bullish. Breakout candle, confirmation candle, and then another big fat green candle above the EMAs. That's very good. It does look pretty much on all fronts at this point like it's going to go higher. We just want to see the MACD turn green. So in terms of the returns here, scenario A, from the current price to the all-time high, 116%. And from, let's just say, the trend line, if it pulls back to the trend line to the all-time high, which would be scenario B, that'd be about 455% move. So G-Link, this one is also very bullish. So we have our breakout candle here, which again is not so obvious, but it is a breakout candle, and we have our confirmation candle here. We would likely want to see some more bullish movement to the upside, bigger volume candles, stuff like that, but we haven't seen that yet. So MACD is kind of choppy, no real direction on that yet. Again, there is kind of some pushback here from the bears or profit takers. We'll just have to see how this plays out next week. But from the current price to the high up here, 95% move. And let's just say it pulled back into the trend line, goes to the all-time high, roughly about 123%. So GSOL, this one's looking very bullish. It is getting very close to breaking all-time highs. So congrats to anybody that holds GSOL. Now, this is the actual breakout candle here. So we want to see a confirmation candle next week, which if we get one, it looks likely that it's going to hit price discovery. So I'm actually going to do a special one for you guys here on this one. So the first move would be about 24%. If we get a pullback to, let's say, this white trend line, like maybe some kind of wick or something, and then a pop back up, which could always happen. Or what's known as a stop loss hunt or liquidity grab. That's normal. It's terminology in trading. If you guys don't trade, you wouldn't know what that is, but that's essentially what a long wick to the downside or upside is outside of normal market structure. So 70% move here. So what I'm going to do, since this thing looks like it wants to hit all-time highs again, is I'm going to do a swing high to swing low Fibonacci retracement here, also known as a bullish retracement. So the next level that we'd be looking at up here would be $840. Okay, that would be the first price target. Second one's going to be about 1240, then 1670 and 1930 respectively. Try to keep these in the back of your mind if you're currently positioned and you think it's going to go to all-time highs. All right, GXLM, huge fat green candle. Have no idea what happened here, but you can see very clearly this thing really wanted to rip, and so it did. It broke the trend line and broke the rising wedge, which is generally a bearish pattern to the upside. So that's pretty extreme. I don't know the last time I've seen a rising wedge break to the upside. This is interesting. So we'll just say from the current price, well, the swing high is not really a big move. It's 35%. But to get back up to the top of this next resistance zone, 89%. And let's say it pulls back into the upper trend line here to the resistance zone, about 126%. You guys can see that that is also the previous all-time high. So Mana, which is the one we hold, this one looks extremely bullish. So this is our breakout candle here. We got a close above the EMAs. This is a big fat green candle. That's always a great sign. We're looking for a break of price discovery. Actually, we may or may not get out at 70, but we also might hold for a higher move. So as of right now, from the current price to the high, you'd be looking at about 127% if it pulls back into the support zone, which is absolutely possible. 251% move. Now, if I go down to the daily here, you guys can see that not only did we get a breakout of the trend line, bounce off support, but also we have a green candle above the EMAs on the daily, and the EMAs are starting to converge bullish. They're starting to cross over each other. That's always a good bullish sign. MACD is very green. The histogram is moving up. That's all good. So one other thing I want to point out here is the potential next big move. If this thing does end up smashing past price discovery, we'll do a bullish retracement, show you guys what that could potentially look like. So we have the first target, $101, 154, 207, and 244 respectively. Again, Mana's market cap in terms of its how much liquidity is invested into it is like 5 million or something. So even the Fibonacci retracements may not necessarily be bullish enough. It might even go past that just based on sheer numbers. So Zcash, it does look like this was accumulation and it's starting to move up now. That's very bullish. So if I draw this a little bit more picture perfect, as you guys can see, all the candles and the wicks are touching here. Very, very nice, perfect lineup. We got a confirmation candle and a breakout candle. Ideally, this goes higher. So from the current price to, let's say, this wick high up here, 64% move. And then assuming that we get a pullback into the trend line, which again, do keep in the back of your minds, it's absolutely possible, 128% move. Okay, so the spot Ether ETF, what I wanted to tell y'all is what I believe is likely to happen now that they're approved. Once they start trading, on the news of the spot Ether ETF, we might get a pullback. Again, buy the rumor, sell the news. Everybody's bullish on the news. But as soon as it actually happens, there's a short-term sell-off or profit taking. But then shortly after that, price absolutely skyrockets to the moon. We saw something very similar with Bitcoin, okay? So Bitcoin ripped into the actual approval of the ETFs, then pulled back a little bit for like a few weeks or so, and then absolutely ripped again. We could see the exact same thing happen on Ethereum. If we see this, not only is Ethereum and Ethereum oscillators like Ethereum Classic going to go up, but we may also see the start of an alt season, okay? A huge, legendary size alt season, because again, there's going to be billions of dollars flowing into these ETFs and into crypto and so on. These Grayscale trusts, all of these that are considered to be altcoin Grayscale trusts, could moonshot way harder than anybody expects as a result of the spot Ether ETF news. So I am expecting something like that to happen. I am also expecting the altcoins themselves to moonshot. So again, kind of the perimeters that we're looking for here. Go to the USDT chart, which again is a stable coin. pretty much what we're looking for here is we want to see the I really got to zoom out here to see this. Sorry about this, y'all. So this is like a really, really long-term chart. I don't know why it looks like this. This is kind of a bit weird. Not sure what the heck happened here, but yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on here. So it's doesn't look like it did before. That's kind of weird. But anyways, so generally speaking, when the USDT chart goes up, that usually means that money is flowing out of crypto into the stablecoin. Okay. But when it comes back down, it's flowing out of the stablecoin into crypto. The lower the dominance, the higher the crypto exposure. Okay. So in terms of the Bitcoin dominance, what we're looking for here is we are looking for a breakdown of the Bitcoin dominance. If we see this in conjunction, meaning it happens roughly around the same time that the spot Ether ETF inflow start happening, then an altcoin season will be confirmed. Okay. We want to see a break of this trend line. We want to see it smash down below the EMAs, smash down below the wedge, smash down below resistance. Okay. And start flowing downwards. Something like this little squiggly line here. If we see that, all of the altcoins, and well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the altcoins and a lot of the grayscale altcoin trusts are likely going to explode to the upside. Okay. Most likely. You guys can see the altcoin dominance is already starting to pull back. That doesn't mean anything. We need to see a break of resistance and the trend line and the EMAs to confirm this. I'm going to show you guys why. So last time we saw money flow from Bitcoin to altcoins, you guys can see the effect right here. This massive move down, that was altcoin season. Okay, that was money flowing out of Bitcoin into altcoins and altcoins ripping as Bitcoin was chopping sideways and doing absolutely nothing. Okay, if we see this, altcoin season's on. If you guys haven't positioned yourself by then, well, I don't know what to tell you about that. So last thing I want to go over here before I close out this video is I want to go over AMC with you guys specifically. So we're going to go over AMC here. As you guys can see, on the weekly time frame, we do have a higher green candle here. So it is looking quite bullish. And of course, we had this golden cross way back here, price down, MACD up. That's known as a bullish divergence. So we do have a massive green candle here, as you guys can see. I don't think we've ever had a candle this size before. You can see all the volume candles over here. We literally never had one, okay? Ever. Even in the previous massive squeeze that we had, we never had one that big. So now if I go over to AMC here, on our own personal portfolio, you guys can see it's actually moving up. So over the last week, it is actually up quite a bit. So we're up roughly about 9%. We have been adding to this. As you guys can see, we're pulling our cost basis down while the price is moving up. Eventually, the two will converge. We'll be in profit, and then we'll wait for a certain price target to get out. So I'm going to show you guys here on the chart real quick what I'm looking at on AMC. So another indication that the bear momentum might actually be slowing is you can see the volume candles are getting smaller and smaller. That usually indicates a weakening of the trend, which means ideally this thing will start to go up soon. So the price targets I'm looking for is these big gaps here. All right, so this is 1650 to 1950, 3650 to 43. We're likely going to be looking to take profit roughly around this area up here, $40, okay? I say that because could it get beyond that point? Yeah, but it's going to have some serious resistance here, and I am expecting some kind of pullback from this area before it maybe eventually rips higher. In that case, we would want to buy the dip. We're not looking to hold, basically let it rip, hold, and then it dumps back down and we miss out on a dip buy. We don't want to do that, okay? So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.